sure.
Thank you.
President now.
Okay, we'll get started with Michigan State student athletes. First question will be here on the aisle in the third row. And direct your questions to specific individuals as much as possible, and make sure you introduce yourself.
Raphael Haynes with the three-point conversion. Coach joked about, well, I don't know if he was joking or not, but he talked about how he was saying since you all are going to be in Atlanta, he get to save money because the food was going to be on you. That's what you said. Yeah. So I want to ask you, being able to be here in front of family and having the chance to advance to the Final Four, like, how does that feel?
You know, it's great. You know, he was joking, though. He wasn't for real. But, yeah, it was good, though. It's good. You know, I haven't really got a chance to play back home. You know, I went to high school out of my state, so it's going to be fun being able to play back here again.
Third row on the far left.
All right. Stephen Brooks, 24/7 Sports. This is for Jeremy. I'm wondering, have your coaching staff showed you guys any film from the Michigan State-Texas Tech game against Coach Beard, just to see your guys' offense against their defense a little bit?
No, we haven't watched any of that game, but we have watched definitely the film on them and how they play in their defensive scheme, and you know what their strengths and weaknesses are. So
then, I guess, what do you notice about them specifically defensively and how they try to affect the point guard?
That they're a tough team. You know, they switch. Everybody physical, and that they guard and play defense.
Back row on the aisle.
Hey, Gunter Schroeder with USA Today. Kind of a follow-up for you, Cohen. Do you expect, a lot of people, family, friends, mentors in attendance for this weekend? And what's the last week or so been like, kind of trying to organize everything for that?
Yeah, I expect a lot of people here. And as far as trying to organize all that, I haven't really been doing too much. Mostly been my mom who have been taking care of all that. I try to stay away from all that,
Front row here on the right.
Robbie LaStella, Bracketeer.org. My question's for Jace. Jace, has there been any difficulty this year matching up against veteran guards as a freshman? It doesn't seem like it, but I was wondering if you thought there may be, and what has kind of led to your success as a guard in the Big Ten as a freshman?
I think when I first came in, it was a little bit of a difficulty, but I was going against these guys every day, so it was kind of getting me better every single day. And just as the season progressed, I felt like defensively I kept getting better and just kept working.
Second row on the aisle.
Mike Griffith, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Guys, I want to ask you about being recruited by Michigan State and Tom Izzo. I mean, Izzo's done things a certain way for a long time. You kind of know what you're signing up for. How do you get introduced to that before you go into a program like that with the sort of practices that you guys have, the intensity, that sort of thing? If you could each maybe share a little bit about your recollection of making that decision to play for Tom Izzo and knowing what you were signing up for at Michigan State.
Jace, let's start with you and then come this way.
I think coming in last year on my visits, just watching these guys work and how Coach was pushing them to be better players, better men, just overall, I think that was the most important thing to me, kind of just seeing what the coaching staff was doing and just how they were developing everybody.
Jeremy?
I'll definitely say watching, some games and films when I was younger, just watching Michigan State basketball and, seeing how he coached and, obviously that they were winning and playing in big games every year. So just something I wanted to be a part of.
Coach?
Yeah, just kind of seeing how he develops his players, how he cares about them. If you don't want to get coached, then it's not the place to go. But if you do want to get coached and get better, then this is one of the best places to go.
Jaden?
Oh, yeah, just same thing all these guys said. You can see games, you can see practices, Coach gets after it, but it's for the better of the team and for the better of the individual. You come here, you're going to leave a better player and a better person.
Let's go fourth row on the left.
John Titel from Hoops HD for Jace. I believe you and Tahad Pettiford were Jordan Brand All-Americans last year, and your brother Jackson is a 5-star recruit in 2026 who got an offer from Michigan. My question's, how close are you and Tahad, and who the heck is Jackson going to cheer for if you end up playing the Wolverines?
Yeah, so I've been playing against Tahad since middle school, so we kind of just been around each other, playing around the circuit, so I've known him pretty well. And then as for my brother, I hope he's cheering for us. You always want family to cheer for us, but I know he's taking his visit up there. I don't have anything to say about it, but if that's the team he wants, then I can't stop him.
Second row here on the left, Paul.
Yeah, for whoever wants to answer, Paul Newberry from Associated Press. Again, talking about Coach Izzo, who started his career before any of you guys were born. How does somebody 70 years old who's been around this long, who's been through a game that has changed a lot over his career, still relate to you guys, to this generation? And what did you see in a guy who's old enough to be your grandfather that made you, again, want to coach for him, that you could relate to him?
Jaden, why don't you take that one?
Oh, yeah, I mean, Coach is still a fiery individual. I feel like he still has a really young spirit at heart, and every day in practice, he always brings the energy, so I don't really feel like we think about his age that much. We just try to listen to everything he has to say, and his experience just makes us want to listen because we know that he's got to the promised land before.
I'll add on, just say, just the fact that obviously the experience, but the personal connection. Like, he cares about you off the court. You don't really think about basketball. He talks about family life, and that's just that, just a family person.
Let's go fourth row, far left.
Chris Solari, Detroit Free Press. This is for the three guards. Last game, Jace saw a lot of doubles, and I'm wondering what you guys maybe learned from that, those extra attention on Jace, and maybe for Jaden in particular, how much that maybe helped you kind of get the shot going, and you and Trey on the outside, and Jeremy getting downhill a little bit.
Jaden, why don't you start, and then we'll go to Jeremy and
Oh, yeah, I
Jace.
mean, Jace is a great player, so he's going to garner a lot of attention, and I feel like it definitely made it easier for the other guys. And I feel like, he played the game the right way, tried to make winning plays, and, came through in the clutch.
I'll definitely say, I think, I don't know about Jace getting double teamed, but I think he has some great looks, great shots that, he usually makes. And, just the ball didn't drop. But other than that, he came back and when it mattered, like the last 5 minutes, made some big-time plays and winning plays. So just being able to help us out any way he can.
I just got to give credit to my teammates for the last game. I think last game I just wasn't hitting shots that I usually hit. Shots weren't falling. Kind of felt disconnected from the game just overall. But I knew coming in the stretch I had to make some plays because these guys were carrying me on their backs for 38 minutes. So I knew how to come in those last two and try to make something happen.
Let's go back row on the left on the aisle.
Andrew Kahn with MLive.com. I know all focus is on Ole Miss, but if you win, you could potentially play Michigan. Would you be rooting for that matchup? What are your thoughts on a potential third meeting with your rival?
I'll say, win the first game, and whatever else happens, happens.
Next.
Raphael Haynes from the three-point conversion. Jaden, usually when you're at this level, the guards that have the most experience come up big, whether it's scoring or just leadership. How have you approached this responsibility, and has Coach said something to you or pulled you to the side and talked to you about this responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's definitely a big responsibility, one that I don't take lightly. I feel like I try to just help lead by example with these guys, and also if they need any help, they can talk to me about anything. I try to make whatever play I can on the court to help us win, and yeah.
Back row on the right aisle.
Hey, Gunter Schroeder with USA Today. I wanted to ask the guards in particular about your guys' three-point perimeter defense in the country coming in. You guys have the best mark in the country, and playing against an Ole Miss team that they've shot over 50% from behind the arc in these first two games. So what has the coaching staff kind of shown you guys on film, highlighted in, in terms of stuff you kind of want to take away to slow them down in that regard in their game?
Jace, why don't you start, and then we'll come this way.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss has been playing great. I mean, their point guard is the straw that stirs the drink, so he's kind of just starting the game. He's hitting a lot of shots as of lately, and he's been a big player for them. So we know defensively that we got to hone in on him and some other key guys that can really go out there and hurt us.
Jeremy?
I definitely say that, everybody's been making shots on their team, from their guards to their bigs, so you have to respect everybody, can't really give any dare shots, and, they play hard. So they're knowing into the game, they're going to play hard, they're going to push the pace, and they're going to guard us.
Jaden?
Oh, yeah, I mean, from the film that I watched, they, push the pace a lot in transition. Sometimes they got a couple open looks in transition, so we got to be able to take that away if we want to be successful.
Third row on the far left.
Stephen Brooks, 24/7 Sports. For Jaden, I'm wondering, Jaden, what do you remember about the last time you were on this stage in the Sweet 16? What are the lessons from that game, and how long did that game sit with you into the offseason, the way things played out there?
Oh yeah, I mean it was a tough game. It didn't end how I wanted it to. Definitely feel like I learned a lot from it. Just game management, time score management, and like it was a close game. So going to the offseason, it definitely stung, and still with me.
Still have a few minutes. Raise your hand if you have a question, and we'll continue. Nobody? Nobody's on the Zoom, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, did you have one? Yeah. Okay, let's go here.
Yeah.
Second row.
Yeah, you guys said you had an opportunity to watch some of the Michigan State practices. Obviously, you were well recruited by a lot of other programs. Was the Michigan State practice noticeably different to you? And if so, what did you take note of?
I'll definitely say when I came up for a couple visits, unofficials and then official. Just the fact that it's a family culture, like all of the players and the coaches would come up and greet themselves, to the family, to me, some of my friends that came with me, and just how coach, he got on players whether they made a mistake, but at the end of the day, it was to learn and to get better. So that was just really big, and for me, I just seemed somewhere that I can find home.
Raise your hand, anybody? Okay. Michigan State locker room will still be open once the guys leave, and we'll wait on Coach Izzo. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you. All right, if everybody's ready, we'll get started with Coach Izzo. Okay, let's go right here and then right here to start off.
Coach Mike Griffith, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I heard Chris Beard talking about your adaptability. So how much have things changed for you over the years? And when he talks about adapting, what would some of those things at the top of your list be?
I don't know if adapting, adjusting. I mean, I think we've all had to adjust. It's just that I've been here longer than Chris. So, over the years, I mean, you think about the different things. It's fun to have your players come back from 25 years ago and they say, why do you allow this? And what do you let go here? And what do you do there? Those are adjustments that I think hopefully the principle of what you do doesn't change. But you do have to adapt to the, just like I always say, it's like, if you keep your tie, the fat tie goes out, the skinny tie comes in, and the fat tie comes back in. The bell bottoms, the straight leg, the mini skirts, the long skirts. I mean, those are, the different hairstyles. I think those are where you adapt. I think at some time I've adapted too much to not realizing still what it takes to win championships. And it really, you still got to defend, rebound, and run. Football, you still got to block and tackle. In both sports, you can't turn the ball over. It's really, we always make it more difficult than it really is because everybody wants to hear some new fancy phrase, but it's still the meat and potatoes, I think, are basically the same. So if I've adjusted a little bit, I'm sure he's adjusted a little bit, but I don't think I've changed a lot.
Front row right here on the aisle.
Hey, Tom. Jared Redding, Inside the Rebels on 24/7 Sports. Kind of a two-part question. The first part, we saw the post-game reaction when you first heard that you were going to play Chris Beard again, a coach that you faced in the Final Four. Based on, what you said then and versus watching them now, did it confirm a lot of, what you previously said? And then secondly, one of those Final Four runs, y'all faced Ole Miss along the way, and I know you played in a lot of those tournament games, but do you recall anything from that last meeting?
Yeah, we lost. So it sucked. We lost. But, I didn't know Chris very well then and gained a lot of respect for him. Number one, he had coached for Coach Knight, and Coach Knight I was a fan of, and we talked about him. This was before the game, meaning a couple days before the game. And but what I loved about him is I think we were kind of out of the same cloth. His teams were always tough. I thought we got punked up there. I thought, we weren't ready for that, and we're usually the more physical team. But I thought his team did a hell of a job, and it was a dogfight game in it till the end. But they did beat us and deserved to beat us, and so I gained respect for Chris then, just on how he coached, how he was, and how he was after the game. He wasn't arrogant and this and that. He was. And still is to this day. So, I have an appreciation for him as a coach, and I have appreciation the way he coaches, and I have a real appreciation how hard his team plays.
Second row on the left, Paul.
Hi, Coach. Paul Newberry from Associated Press. I believe it was last weekend you mentioned when you were sort of asked to reflect on your career, and you immediately remembered the 26 offensive rebound. I think it was actually 24, but maybe the memory was a little fuzzy, but that I only read that.
My memory, huh?
I only read that somewhere else. I didn't. But it was interesting to me that you still remember that game from your first season when you're thinking about your success over the longevity of your career and how playing off the adaptability. How do you decide what's things that are going to be there forever, and those things I can change a little bit on?
Because I remember the people that influenced my life, and of course my father, my mentor, Judd Heathcote, but some of the coaches, in the Big Ten, it was Bobby Knight, it was Gene Cady, it was Clem Haskins. But early in my career, that first year, we played Arkansas, and they were good, and I just loved him as a coach because he was tough, and his teams were athletic, and they could rebound, and we went and got 20-some offensive rebounds. That was a lot. And it coined the phrase by Judd Heathcote, my boss. He said, man, your best offense is the missed shot, because we couldn't shoot it very good. But we won the game. And then a year later, John Chaney had an influence on me. He talked about scheduling, and that I should schedule the best teams. And he said, I'll come and play you. I said, I don't want to play you. They were really good. And so I did. Lost by one the first year at my place, and Pepe Sanchez hit a shot the second year at the buzzer to beat us again. And yet I took what he told me, and I kept scheduling that way, and I think it really helped my program. So I guess what I'm saying in the long run is I look at things that have happened to me. Experience does matter, especially if you use it in the right way. And I've had a lot of people, I have not done anything that I've done myself. I've stolen from every possible coach that I've ever, in football and basketball. I look at both sports, and I steal. And so, back then I stole from Arkansas, I stole from Temple, I stole from Indiana, Purdue, Minnesota, still stealing from Nick Saban and different football guys I know. And it's because everybody, I always say you can win games a lot of different ways, but to win championships, it's pretty standard still. You still got to be able to do things with some accountability and some discipline. And some of those guys taught me that best.
All right, 5 in the queue. Let's go to back row on the left.
Tom Meyer Metcalf, ESPN, you always have a special bond with your teams, but it feels like with this group, you really like these guys. What is it about them that's created this bond between you and them this season?
I think if I say that Yeah, I have a special bond with them more than others. I mean, Cleves will kill me, you know, but I had some, and Draymond will, you know, be hunting me down. But so you got to watch that when you've been in the same place a lot of years. But I do think it is one of the more connected teams, and yet I wouldn't say elite talent. Like maybe some teams have had pretty good talent, and this team is connected. This team. And I think we did things to help it. You know, we went to Spain. We went to the UP where I'm from and taught them how to eat pasties for a pregame meal. We did some different things. Oh, you like that, huh? Yeah. You're one of the few. You're probably the only guy in this room that knows what the hell they are. But, and then, you know, we started playing a lot of players. And so everybody had some ownership in the team. And different guys would rear their heads and maybe score. We had 7, 8 different leading scorers. And this team appreciated that. And most teams are so selfish, they don't appreciate that. So I don't think it's what I did. I think it's what they've done. And I just kind of sat there and said, wow, I do appreciate, you know, in this day and age where we're a little more selfish, this team so far hasn't been selfish at all.
Third row on the left.
Raphael Haynes with a three-point conversion. Coach, because of your experience, now that you have, like you joked about Cohen being here from Atlanta and how he has to, you know, pay for everything as far as food. When it comes to preparing for this week or this game tomorrow and hopefully, you know, Sunday, has it changed as far as the flexibility you've given the players as far as maybe curfew or bedtime versus focusing and preparing for the game?
Hell no. Still have curfew. And I told Cohen, don't be inviting any of those old girlfriends over either, you know? So that hasn't changed one bit. But, you know, it's funny. For some reason with this team, and sometimes you get stung, but I learned when I got the job, I'd fall asleep with 2 eyes shut. It wasn't long after having the Flintstones that I learned to sleep with 1 eye and then no eyes shut. And with this team, I'm kind of back to, you know, I just trust them, and I've never had a group of guys are better students, better guys. I mean, it sounds corny, but it's true. And Cohen Carr is one of them that I don't worry about. If he told me he was going somewhere to do something right now with his family or with his friends, I think I could sleep with both eyes shut. So, but there's still going to be some rules now. Just because our world has no rules and college sports has no rules, Michigan State still has some rules.
Front row here on the left, on the right.
Robbie LaStella, Bracketeer.org. Coach, I wanted to ask you about Jace. Obviously, his role's amped up throughout the year, but early on, was there any concern that as a freshman he'd struggle against some of the other veteran 5-6 year guys in the Big Ten? And how do you think he's been able to speed up and excel in the Big Ten?
I'd say early on, I thought that. And then we played Kansas in this building. And I realized that the moments aren't too big for him. Now, I think he's got good pedigree, you know. Not only his dad and his mom played and she coached, and I mean, it's kind of been but I had to learn that too, you know. You don't just see that in recruiting, you learn that. But if there's one thing I will say, like somebody asked me last week, he didn't shoot it as well, was he nervous? And no, you know, the kid is confident, not cocky. He's got an unbelievable demeanor to him. And he has gotten better in a lot of different areas, but he's also been damn good when he came. You know, he just, I think the way he was raised, the moments aren't too big. And I never, after the Kansas game here, that was only the second game of the season. It wasn't like we lost. But I did not, I started realizing then, this kid, you know, like some kids are so cocky that they don't get moved by the moment. He's not cocky. He's just confident in what he can do. And I've been amazed. I haven't had many kids like him in that respect, to be honest with you.
Let's go to the far left for 2 rows, second row first.
Coach Ken Segura with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I wanted to ask you a big picture question about NIL. I think a common criticism of it is that kids are chasing money and opportunities. And I'm curious kind of how you square that when the same probably could be said of a lot of coaches.
I know you all saw my comments, so I respect your question, but there'll be no talk of NIL or transfer portal here. This is going to be about Jaden Akins, the seniors, all the players I had before, and the opportunity to try to do something that the memory will last. Winning a championship, going to Final Fours, is a memory like no other if you're an athlete. And so, if you want to take my number and call me when everything's said and done, I'll give you a different opinion than maybe what most people think. But I apologize. I'm not going to talk about that the day before. The opportunity to play a game that could lead to another game that could lead to going to a Final Four, which is it's better than any NIL. It's better than my contract. It's better than the money I make. It's better than anything I do. And that's where I'll leave it. And I'll be more than happy to give you my number.
One row back on the far left.
Stephen Brooks, 24/7 Sports. Tom, Jeremy had mentioned that the guys hadn't seen the Texas Tech film from the Final Four. I'm guessing you probably went back and watched it. I'm just curious if you see similarities from the defense that they played that day to Chris's team now, and what are sort of the philosophies that makes that thing go on that end. They frustrated Cassius pretty well that time in Minneapolis.
I'm crazy, but I'm not a masochist. Why would I want to go back and watch something when I got my butt kicked, But, in all fairness, I did watch a little bit of it one night, but not much, because that's 5 years, 6 years ago, and so much has changed in so many ways. I know. I watched Chris during the year. I watched him when he was at Texas. I watched him, once, they beat us, and we actually did become friends. And, of course, I watch people that I respect and how they play, but every team is different. I think I know what his philosophy is, and I think he knows what mine is. So it wasn't like I went back and looked at something that didn't work out for me. In fact, when I looked at it, that famous quarterback was sitting in the stands. So I don't even know if I'm going to be a Chiefs fan. I mean, I love the guy, but now I don't know if I'm going to be a Chiefs fan anymore because he was there pulling for Texas Tech, which he should have been. But no, I didn't spend much time on that film. I got enough work to look at all the film. I got 30 games to evaluate them now.
I think this will be our last one right here.
Mike Griffith. So, Coach, I haven't seen a Michigan State practice in 10 years. A lot's changed, 3 letters aside. I guess I would ask you if some of the changes and some of the opportunities that players have has changed the way you coach. You hear so much about maybe guys don't want to get coached hard anymore. Maybe coaches are going to have to adapt to a different type of athlete. So how different are the practices now than they were 10 years ago?
Well, back when you were there, back in the day, I was even more than that. We had the famous war drill, our rebounding drill, and I did borrow 12 sets of football pads from Nick Saban, and we did do that. And they asked me, would I do that again? And I said, hell no. And they asked me why. The players couldn't take it. I said, no, the lawyers would sue me, so I don't do that anymore. But I do still feel the war drill is still important. I think I adjusted a little bit. We went through a lot of things at Michigan State for a while, and I think like we all do, we go too far to the right or too far to the left, whenever we're making adjustments. And that's why I vowed that I'm going to do what I believe in. And I study a lot of coaches. And I call coaches I don't know, football and basketball and I do call coaches I do know. And, I think we still figure it out. Once you win a national championship, winning a tournament game means nothing. I mean, to our fans, it doesn't mean much. But to me, it doesn't mean as much. You know, finishing third in the Big Ten a couple times or fifth was okay because maybe we weren't that good, but it just doesn't turn me on. It doesn't do anything for me. So I have to figure out a way to try to win championships. Well, we won the Big Ten by 3 games, which, if I was to be very honest, was shocking to me. But at the same time, you know, unfortunately, I'm going to play against a team that I think has a similar philosophy as mine. And, you know, so I know we're going to play against a tough team. I know they're going to be physical. I know they're going to play hard. I know they're going to be somewhat disciplined. And I think that's what probably, if I really looked at all the teams that are left, there's got to be some common denominator. I mean, somebody could have just incredible amount of talent, but in the gist of it is you better be pretty focused, pretty disciplined, pretty accountable, and pretty together and connected if you're going to move on, unless you have unbelievable talent. And maybe there's 1 or 2 that do, but most of them don't.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes. Next up here is Michigan coach Dusty May, and he'll be here at 1:50.